Hi, this is Russ with Devoted Golfer. It's 2017, isn't it? Yeah, time flies. PGA Merchandise Show. And once again, Kim Braley is here to talk about new products. And
we have two new products this year. First I want to talk about is our hybrid shaft. The thing that's unique about this hybrid is it's in the same stiffness, and if you measure frequencies, as the rest of the set. The majority of hybrids out there that are fit into people, somebody might be fit into a 5.0 or a 6.0, let's say. So the set, they go to a custom fitting operation, they get the specs and they get what their clubs are and everything, and they get the frequency chart. Well, it's 6.0, 6.0, 6.0, 6.0 all the way up, and then all of a sudden you get to the hybrid and it's 4 something. And then you get back to your fairway woods and your driver, and you're back on line again.
Right.
And the reason being is the platform they use to design the hybrid is actually a wood platform. Whereas a hybrid wasn't designed to go further than what it was supposed to. What a hybrid was designed for.
It took some of the club makers a few years to figure that part out.
Well,
they've got it.
I'm not going to speak on that one. But this thing was, it was designed, initially the design was to be able to hit a 1-iron easier or 2-iron easier. Right. And then it became a 3-iron, and in a lot of cases a 4-iron now. And those clubs are supposed to go a certain distance.
Right.
What happened with the hybrids, rather than it being an easier club to hit, it also, all of a sudden it was about how long it would go. And people were being fit into the hybrid that they hit the longest. So now between your 5 and your 4, or between wherever you stopped, wherever that transition is, there's a huge gap.
Right.
And also, a good player, or almost any player, will figure that out after a while and figure out how to make it work. But the stability of the shaft was such that once it goes one way or the other, it keeps going, with a hybrid especially.
Yes.
It tends, that's the scariest shot in golf for almost any player, is that one. For stronger players, generally it's the one that's going left. Right. For someone with not quite as much speed, it's generally the one that's going right. And with a hybrid, you feel like you really kind of nutted it, and all of a sudden you look up, it's going a little bit left, and it doesn't stop. And it ends up out of bounds or in a bush somewhere. But anyway, the thing that separates this one is the stability of it. The fact that there's not a transition when you go from your irons to this one. We've designed this shaft. We have 14 different SKUs, and we've designed it to match up to our different steel shafts.
Right.
So we'll have a matrix that says, if you play the C-Taper Light X, this is the right hybrid for you. In all of them, in all of our products, we'll have a hybrid that matches that product. Okay. So, it's about being able to make an easier transition, about not having to change things, and you do it subconsciously, but it is effective by what happens out there.
Right. Yeah.
And like I said, the first week out on tour, we had a day and a half. We got 8 guys, and we got the winner. And it was during a time where people don't change. Generally, people don't change during FedEx. They've had all year to do that. But anyway, so we're really proud of this product, and it's
8 guys week 1.
8 guys week 1. Yep, in a day and a half.
Yeah.
It was 2 shots in the bag, 2 shots in the bag, 2 shots in the bag. And anyway, so this one here is going to be very, very, very successful for us.
Yeah. I see it as like the KBS Tour EI profile.
Yeah, well, you do EI, so you see it, and you saw how this thing falls right on it.
Yeah.
Maybe a little deeper modes, but because it's longer. But as far as the profile goes, we nailed it.
Yeah, so it's just an extension. If you fit into that club, then you
Yeah, and
take a little weight out of your hybrid.
Yes.
Building it a little bit longer.
Yes.
But what you know of that shaft and how that shaft releases and how it plays for you just extends right here to the shaft.
Exactly. So over a period of time, it helps with your consistency. You're not having to make those adjustments that you may not even know about. And anyway, so it's been I would say even more successful than we had hoped it to be.
So you can take the word prototype off, right?
Not for a while. We'll leave prototype on it for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to take prototype off it.
Generally available?
It's available right now.
Yeah. Okay, so we can get into it.
Yeah.
So this slide shows what I would call like your product progression, right? I mean, a couple years ago there was one shaft, and then there was two shafts, and now we've got a whole range of product covering anything from the
junior
child,
the
junior player, on out to the C taper, and then a refinement of that, the Tour V. Right, so you've got it covered.
Yeah, it is. We came out with the Tour first. It's the one that fits the most people by far. By far. It goes from 90 grams all the way up to 135. So generally there's somewhere in that thing you'll be able to find a shaft that fits you. And all the other shafts are based off of that, or based on the Tour in terms of what we want to do. Do we want it to go a little bit higher? Do we want it to go a little bit lower? Do we want to spin a little more, spin a little bit less? And so the Tour is the platform for everything.
You know, you cost me a lot of time this year, because when you brought out the Tour FLT, I had to take a look at my software and say, you know, you really shouldn't be rating shafts based on 6-irons. That you have to look at the 3-iron, and you have to look at the wedge, and you have to understand that difference between them to understand a set of shafts. And so you have this, and you have this. This is this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this is this.
Yes, yes.
And, you know, so for years, club makers have been looking at 6-irons and like, wait a minute, guys, we're missing a picture here.
One of the difficulties we had in fitting with the FLT 6-iron is actually the same shaft as the Tour. So I like to use 3-iron, 6-iron, 9-iron. That's what I like to use when I'm doing testing, just to be able to get the full, you know, to understand everything. It's great with it. Hey, if you get a 6-iron that's right for you, generally speaking, the rest of them are going to be right for you. But
you now have to ask that question. Do you hit your long irons a little lower than you would like to? Right?
Maybe.
And you know, all you do is get the answer to that and say, well, really, you should be moving into a set that has a wider range. So you may not even have to test it. You just talk to the player. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what we told all the fitters. Have them hit the 6-iron, even though it's the same as the Tour, and ask them if they would like to be able to have the ability to hit the ball a little bit higher with the long irons, and a little bit lower with the short irons. And 9 times out of 10, they say higher long irons. Yeah, I like to hit higher long irons.
But if you live in Texas, when you bring your short irons down, that's a good thing. Yeah.
Well, and maybe a higher long iron in Texas is not the greatest thing in the world, but for the average player, it's a great product. So all the other products are variations of the Tour, and what it is, it's all, you know how much I believe in fitting. So it's all about fitting and trying to make a product that's optimum for all those different individuals. You know, right now the only thing, the strongest growth in our industry is in the fitting, and that's our entire product line is predicated on that.
So we've got a pretty interesting linear thing, but now you've started to do some specialties.
Yes.
Like this over here, and that over there.
Yes. Well, like the S taper, where it's a very specific shaft.
So let's move on to this one. So this is moving on into that progression of
more as
specialty shafts.
A shaft that has an audience that's more a specific audience that is not that broad. The way the shaft is right now, it's in the heavier weights. We generally work on tour for a year or so with a product before we bring it out. And the guys on tour generally play shafts that are what we would consider to be heavier weights. You know, 20 years ago they weren't heavier; they were what it was. But today, with all the thinner wall stuff, the lighter shafts, you know, an average weight shaft now may be 105 grams. I'm not sure, but an average weight.
That's pretty much what it is.
But
an average golfer, 105 is the sweet spot.
Well, we have a 105, but anyway, this shaft, the S taper, is a mid-launch, very low spin shaft. And
how do you accomplish that?
Well, it's done through the location and in this case, the length of the steps.
Length of steps.
the length of the amount of reduction. The length.
Yeah. So I can see it here. I mean, we don't have this tiny little spot. It's like spread out.
It's about 5 to 6 times longer than what a regular step would be.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a more stable construction. It's a more stable way to go from one OD to another. Mm-hmm. And the stability is what causes the spin to go down. Mm. And it has to do with something with rebound angles and how and where the steps are located. But anyway, being more stable.
So when you say rebound angle, you're talking about something specific to shaft design, not something related to how I hit a golf ball.
Yes, okay. yes.
I want to help our viewers with that term.
Well, you sit around and you just, I'm always, trying, not always, but often I'm thinking about this kind of stuff. And anyway, I've been studying this rebound deal and found that with this type of a step down, I'm better able to manipulate how the shaft ends. Hmm. So in this case, we located the steps in a way that it doesn't spin nearly as much as what a regular golf shaft would. Mm. The majority of stronger players fight spin. That's, if you look at the top 100 players in the world, 70 of them have spin that is quite a bit higher. I'm not talking 300, 400 RPMs. I'm talking about quite a bit higher than what they would be, what would be optimum. What we know is optimum for a club of that loft and that length. The spin should be X in order to get the maximum distance and what you want to get out of it. Mm-hmm. So this is a very specific shaft. The way it is today, it's designed for stronger players. Mm-hmm. But we will, like I said, we're gonna take this thing to tour. It's gonna be a monster. I mean, this will be a monster.
You have a little tour experience with this already. Right?
Yeah, no, I've done this stuff enough to know that something's going to work, and I've had a lot of guys hit it, and we've done a lot of work on this thing, so I know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And there's only been 3
so far.
The only 3 guys that hit it put it in their bag. It wasn't finished. We didn't have the labels and all that kind of stuff, and I've been told by their marketing people and general manager that they don't want this product out until we have it finished. Mm-hmm. And in this case, the shaft has been finished, but the label being a 360-degree label. Mm-hmm. We did this, we're going to start doing this probably a little bit more. And one of the reasons is for the guys that do puring. Mm-hmm. You have a beautiful set of custom-made golf clubs, and the labels are going this way, that way, and every which way. And it just
we can have a long discussion about puring, but
well, basically a lot of people do it.
Is your shafts are straight enough and consistent enough that they don't need to be pured.
Well, now we can talk about this for a long time. Yeah. But generally speaking, the straightness is great because that's what puring is measured on a steel shaft. People seem to think there's a spine in there somewhere. There's no spine. What that's measuring is where the predominant bend is. Mm-hmm. So enough about that. Yeah. But so this is a shaft that's very specific. Again, we've got it covered. Yeah. Yeah. But what I'll do now is look at different things and try to target areas that are maybe not as nearly as broad as the tour is in terms of a shaft that's good for a great deal of people. Mm-hmm. But anyway, like I said, this thing here is going to be what Project X is to rifle. This is going to be what Project X is to rifle. Believe me, this thing is going to be big.
Yeah. So when you say it lowers spin, I mean, I think about spin as spin axis.
Yep.
So if you're lowering spin, you're also lowering dispersion.
That's the main thing. That is the absolute main thing. This thing has it gets in the air, it flattens out, and the dispersion, because of the amount of spin, is been minimized. I can't tell you it's 50% better, but it's been minimized a great deal.
Yeah. So is it released yet?
No. We're still a few weeks away from being able to release this, but only a few weeks.
Yeah. So we'll have this by spring.
Yes, and it's going to be available in both chrome and a PVD finish. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be it'll be available here within the next few weeks.
Yeah. Well, great. Kim, once again, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending time with us.
Enjoyed it.